Hello, I'm Mark, and welcome to part 4 of my Unreal Engine tutorials on how to build a multi-stage and non-linear questing engine for your Unreal Engine games. So in the last 3 videos, it was pretty code intense as we are building out all the components needed for our quest log. So in this video, we're going to go ahead and through the use of our core questing interface, we're going to integrate that quest log into the player controller, and set it up so we can get access to that system through both the controller and through the player character as well. So that hopefully this will be light on the C++, and from here, once we've got the integration done, we'll then move into the blueprints and start setting up some quests and start feeding those quests into our engine to start playing around and checking out some of the basic functionality. Okay, so as always, we've got a lot to get through in this video, so let's get started. Okay, so first off, let's start out with the player controller. So as you can see, I'm just going to let's come into our solution real quick. Unreal Engine actually, so when Unreal Engine went ahead and created our C++ solution, it created for us a character class as well as a controller class. And so what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've dug up that information in our Visual Studio. So it's right over here. So let me bring out the tree. And right now it's located right here underneath the core questing. For me, it's under the core questing live folder. So after I pop that up for the controller, let's go ahead and tie our quest. So I like to keep the quest log in the controller. So I'm just going to go ahead and put it here. And the reason why I like to do it is because if you're creating games in which your character is going to be moving from, say, a character to a vehicle and then back again, the controller is the part that actually moves, right? But the character stays where it is. And also, if you're building games in which you're going to be shooting other things and you want to get XP and rewards for killing certain characters, again, when you're passing the damage instigator, that goes by the controller. So again, you're passing the controller. So by keeping this information in the controller, we can update a little bit more effectively. Now, of course, if you're going to be interacting with things, usually you pass the character through. And that's why I'm also going to put this interface on the character and show you how you can tie both of those together so you can use either one while keeping the component in the controller. All right, so for starters, let's go ahead and bring in our interface include. So here, we're just going to go into this, and I'm going to say core questing live. No, I want various public questing, and we just need the interface. Something else that I'm going to do, so as you can see here, it's actually got this class input mapping context, and it's being used for the input mappings on this character. So they're actually putting this into the controller versus the character. Again, you can put the context in characters or controllers, it's up to you. We're just going to continue to roll with what they've given us. But in order to, because we've got this pre-class, I'm going to do the same thing for our components. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab it and put it in here. And all this does is it just tells the compiler that there's a component here, and this is just a pre-class definition to allow the compiler to keep compiling. And so it will let the compiler know that the actual include definition for this class it will eventually get to it. So it's kind of like a pre-definition. It's unique to C++. It's something unique to C++. All right, so next we can keep the abstract. Next, let's go ahead and get the interface in. So to do that, as you can see, this class is already inheriting from a player controller. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to put a comma here, and I'm going to say public, and I'm going to say I core questing interface. And that now will tell the, when we compile this, it's going to say that this object, this controller, this specific controller, is also inheriting from, it's inheriting from the player controller, but it's also now inheriting from our interface. All right. Let me just check. I am going to want to put a custom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a constructor. So we need a constructor here, and I'm actually going to make this a private constructor, and it'll just be up here. And we need the constructor so that we can instantiate an instance of our quest log, and do that at the blueprint level in the editor. All right. Next, underneath the in protected, I'm just going to go ahead and add a reference to our player quest log, and I'm going to set it to a null pointer, because we'll go ahead and create that right up here when we're ready to do so. And then I'm also going to add some additional variables here. This is more for pseudocode, as I kind of show you how you can tie things in. Again, we don't have a currency, an XP system, or a gold purse, and we don't have a leveling system in here, so I'm just going to use these variables just to kind of satisfy it when we tie things in. But you could then tie this into what other systems that you have in your controller. And again, I like to keep my my leveling and XP system again in the controller, because the player controller is, when it comes to scope, the player controller is what's usually moving around in games where you get to move between mounts and your character again. So, all right, and then finally we have 4 methods on the interface, so we need to bring those in, and we want to make sure that we override those methods. So here's our interface, and so when you're creating the interface, we use this equals 0 to say that this is just purely virtual and that it needs implementation. And then when we come over to here and we want to implement it, we just hit the override, which says, okay, don't take what's in the interface, take what is currently being set up here. Again, these are all virtual. So, and because they're virtual, I could even override, and yeah, if we create derivatives off this class, we could then override it again if needs be in any other derivative from this point forward. All right, so that should set up our controller as far as the code that we need to put in the header file. So let's go ahead and set up the implementation. So first off, we're going to need this constructor, and Visual Studio is not playing ball, and so I'm just going to go ahead and add that in here. So to do that, I'm just going to go grab this. I'm just going to copy, paste. I'm going to grab the name, and that should set up the, and I don't need the void because it's a constructor, so that should do it. So that's our constructor. It's just the name of the class, and then it's the function there. And then within the constructor, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to go bring this over. We're just going to say the quest log, core quest components, and then it's just going to instantiate it and bring it in. Something else that I'm also going to add here, I'm just going to bring in an include, and this is going to be the include for the actual quest log component, since it's also going to be referenced in here. All right, so what this is going to do is it's just going to set, so when we go back to the compile everything, go back to the blueprint, this is going to then make that component visible within the blueprint, and that's why we're putting in the constructor. All right, so now we have 4 functions that we need to go ahead and implement. So I'm just going to go ahead and just fix all 4 of these. And then we can go ahead and fill them out. So that's the constructor. This is the, if you're interested in how this is set up in C++, this is just how the those enhanced inputs are done. It's just run through the setup input components, and then it just runs this on the subsystems. And you can add as many to this. So as you can see here, there's an array, so it's iterating through the array, and you can add as many of those context mappings as you need into the system. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and just minimize those two so that we can focus on our quest log. So the first one's pretty easy, and as you can see, these are all using constants here on the first two. And the reason why they're constants is so they're only read-only. We don't want to actually change anything on here. We don't want to expose the pointer. We just want to have a way to pass that pointer back. But we're not going to actually change that. So there's the Quare quest log, or Quare player quest log. So that's there. Constructor's constructed it, and then when this function gets called, we can pull it back. Current player level, again, this is mostly going to be used when we get into when we start looking at the giving out quests, and we want to check dependencies on that quest. We'll use that function there. Update player rewards. So this is useful for updating the player rewards. So what this does is it takes the quest ID, but it's also going to take the inventory rewards. And this is, as I said, as you can see, is selected inventory rewards. So if you have a curated list, right, of you have a game in which we're collecting up the possible inventory rewards, but at the end you might say, well, you get to pick based on how you went through the story, how you went through the quest line, right, or how you went through that all those stages. You have options for this reward or that reward. You could say you could either get them all, or you could have someone pick. This is where the selected inventory would come in, and then you would be added. But this is the controller, so inventories, I usually don't put inventory on the controller, so this is not going to be used here. And this is kind of where you start seeing some of that split. Is it on the controller or not? Usually when I'm using update rewards on controller, it's usually because we've killed somebody, or killed an AI, or we have an autocomplete. So all we care really about is maybe the accrued XP and maybe the accrued currency, if this is where your currency is. So that's kind of where this is sitting, and that's kind of why I have these two variables here. So all we do is we just say, go into the quest log, go into the active quest by ID, so this is the function we created in the last video, and this will go and get us the active quest. So this makes it a lot easier for us. And then from there, we'll then say get quest data total accrued. So again, the questing engine is doing all the accruing for us. So all of that data. So when we get to the point where we can turn this quest in, because that's when this function is going to be fired, all of that data is ready for us to just pass it back. And then get quest log. And then what we'll then do is once we've got this done, then we'll go ahead and say, okay, here's the quest ID, and then run the completion. And then that will take the quest out of the active list and move the historical data into the completed list and remove the quest for us. So that handles all the cleanup and then passes back a true to let us know that everything's good, versus if this quest here is not valid, we'll pass back a false. And then next, we're just going to go ahead and do for the update quest objective. So this is the function that is going to be, again, this one is also going to be called a lot. This one is usually going to be called when we were handing in quests. This one is going to be called whenever we have to update an objective within the questing system itself. So again, we're going to pass in the objective ID and the quantity. This is the get quest log, so we're going to check to make sure. I'm just doing a check here off this function to make sure this is valid. It should be. And then all we do is we just run our updated quest objective, which passes in the quantity and the ID. It will execute, and it will then this system will then go out to all of the quests that are being managed within the active quests in the quest log, and simultaneously each quest will then check to see if this objective is something that it's currently managing and seeing if it needs to update it. Alright, so that should do it for our controller. So now let's come over to our character. So for the character, it's something very similar. I'm just going to go ahead and So just like with the controller, I'm going to put a predefinition up here for the quest log to let the compiler know that this thing's coming. And we're also going to include the public questing interface. And I'm going to add the interface here as well. So the interface is both you can add interfaces. The nice thing about interfaces, you can add it to whatever objects you need that interface to be on it. So you don't have to, it doesn't have to be just for controls. It can be for both character and controller. All really in when we cast to the interface, we're just making sure that that object has that interface on it. So it's very flexible, And so there's the call questing interface. So since this is a character and we only want the quest log in one place and the quest log is on the controller, we don't need to worry about defining the quest log here. So we'll just roll over this for now. These are the input actions that are on the character, and this is the camera and the camera boom. So again, this has all been stubbed out for us. So there's nothing we need to do there. We don't need to do anything on for any of the setup. We don't need to do anything in the constructor. Move and look. If you're interested in seeing how you can do this in C++, feel free to just dive right into the code. So now we're just going to come down to the public. So here we've got the camera boom and follow. So now let's just go ahead and add our functions as well. And again, I'm just going to bring them in. And again, I'm using the Blueprint Pure as well, yeah, for anything which is returning. And then I'm just using callable. I'm actually using callable here. I'm using callable here, even though it's returning a bool and a void. It's just, I just like the idea of a callable on this one, and this one's callable too. So this is void. But again, these functions should are going to then show up in the blueprints so that we can use them in the blueprints. All right, so let's go ahead and implement these like we did in the other one. So in the controller. So let's just go grab this. All right, so here we are, and we're in the this is the character. So I'm just going to hit save. So let's go ahead and implement this. So because our quest log is in the controller, we need to be able to access the controller to get access to it through here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go into, I'm going to call the get controller, which is going to get the controller that is controlling this character. And instead of casting to the player controller to see if it's that player controller, I'm actually just going to cast to the interface, which is actually on that player controller. And if that interface is on the player controller, then we're just going to take that player controller's interface to get the quest log. And if this is not here, we're just going to pass back a null. So this is, again, this is the power of using interfaces, right? You don't, you can put them on whatever you need, and that interface will always, and then you just cast in whatever is needed, and it will map that to, so this is while both of these have the same interface, this interface is for off the controller, and then this would then be off. If I did this off the character, it would be the version of the character. And then for the current level, all I'm going to do here is, again, we're just going to go back onto the controller, cast it to the interface, and then on the host interface, we're just going to call that function. So it's the same function, just this one's coming off the interface, which is on the controller. And then if it's not there, we just pass back a 1. All right, so this one is the player rewards. So again, this is going to be a little different now because so what I'm doing here is I've got some pseudocode here. Try add to inventory rewards if inventory success, true. Otherwise, if it's not, false. Right, so I just put a little pseudocode. Again, I don't have an inventory system, but this is kind of how you would kind of do it. You'd take your inventory, you'd try to see if there's enough space in inventory for the selected items. If there is, you add it, return true, and then from there, you would then call the update player rewards. And this one is actually being called on the controller. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to have code in one place. So we're kind of separating things out a little bit. I don't like the idea of having code in two places wherever possible, because the more ways that you can do something, the more sources of error you could have when it comes to debugging or fixing bugs or adding new features. So I'm very much into try and get it into one place and do it in one place wherever possible. And so that's kind of why we're doing it there. And it's the same thing for down here in the quest objectives. All we're doing is we're just going to go get the controller, cast the interface, and then run the one off the controller interface. So this is really just acting as a facade around for the controller, So, and that's just, again, it's just a design pattern, using facades to kind of mask where the actual thing is. And again on the player rewards, we're facading this, but that's only because we also have an extra step, which would be taking inventory rewards and putting them into the inventory. All right, so that should do it for all of our coding for this video, as far as C++. So we've got the interfaces on the character, and we put on the controller. So we can use either or, and we can now split up the divisions of labor or where we need to put things. All right, so next we'll go ahead and compile this, and then once we've got a good compile, we'll move over to the blueprints, and we should see these things showing up in the blueprints. All right, so let's go ahead and hit the compile button, and hopefully we'll get a good compile. Yep, good compile complete. So let's go ahead. So under here, we can go to third person blueprints, and I'm just going to open up the controller there, and here's our player quest log. So it's sitting there, nice and pretty. We could open up our character as well. So this is kind of that character code. I'm just going to go grab this touch stuff and move this over here. We're not going to be doing anything with any of this, but we'll just leave it there for now. If you guys want to play with it. If you're in version 6 or version 5.6, you can go ahead and play with that. Again, pretty clean here, but we do have an interface now. And that interface is something that we, extending, it's going to now give us access to the player quest log, which is here. All right, so I'm just going to minimize that real quick. What I'm going to do, because I want to set up this save and loading system, I'm just going to go ahead and do that real quick. So to do that, if you haven't done this or done this before, for save and loading, I'm just going to add it right here. I'm going to right click and I'm going to come to blueprints, and under all classes, I'm just going to say save game, and I'm just going to click on the save game. I like to call it save game instance because this is the actual instance that will be going into. This is what will then be going into the actual slot, save game slot. And I'm just going to open this up, and all I'm going to do here is find the. We're going to call this current quest log. Actually, I'm going to call this saved quest log. And we should have a structure called core quest log save data, and there it is. That's all we need to do. So this is our structure. So once we got this, in order for it to be read-writable and serializable, we need to just go ahead and make it public, and we also wanted to expose on spawn. So there it is. That's all we need to do. So this is where you keep all of the variables for all the things you want to save. And since this is a massive quest log, again, we created the nice structure. That structure is fully serializable, and that's the beauty of using structured data within your save system. So you can just move it all at once. We can just take a copy, move it all at once in here, serialize it, and we don't have to worry about where you're trying to track variables in arrays, which can get very messy. All right, so that's the save game instance. We don't need to worry about that. So let's come back to the controller and let's set up a couple of things so that we're ready to, so when we're ready to start feeding some quests in, we can start to see a couple of things happen in the debug. So the first thing I'm going to do here, we don't need event begin playing, we don't need ticks, so I'm just going to take that out. And so as you can see here on the player quest log, we actually have over here on the right hand side some events. And so I'm going to go ahead and pick the relay quest autocomplete. So this was actually, and the reason why I keep this up here is usually on an autocomplete you're going to be updating, usually it's just updating XP, and if your XP system is in, again, the controller, it all works for us. So this is autocomplete for that, and then I'm also going to do relay time tick. And I'm going to fire that one up here. So this is if we have a timed quest, we're going to go ahead and output so we can see that time ticking. All right, so for this, I'm just going to go ahead and, for now, we're just going to go ahead and do a print string. And let's do that. So, and we can keep the hello there. I'm going to backfill this and say append. Since this is a string, we can do the append. And I'm just going to put 3 pins, and the middle pin, I'm just going to put a space and a colon and a space. So that's all I'm doing there. And then so then when I get to the, so on passing, I just want to check to see if it's passing. I'm just going to drag that pin in there and let it do a concatenation. And then on quest ID, I'm actually going to do another append. So append and an append of an append. Let's make sure we've got some space here. And I'm just going to go ahead and grab the quest log ID, and I'm just going to put that into part B, and we'll just put some text here. And put some formatting in there. So this is our autocomplete. So whenever we execute the autocomplete, it's going to come in and it's going to hit this string, and I'm just going to change this to a different color so I know that it's different. I'm just going to make it yellow. So whenever we see this yellow text come up, this will be the autocomplete for the quest. So if we set a quest to autocomplete, our questing engine the quest will bubble it up to tell the questing host that we have a quest for autocomplete, and then this will then go ahead and call this function. And then off here, what we're going to do is we're just going to call update player rewards. And again, the reason why we're doing it, it seems a little bit like we're going outside the engine to come back inside the engine. And the reason why is because, again, we don't want to couple the XP system with the questing engine. But yeah, we decoupled it, so we're just going to use delegation to get us out, so that we can do whatever we need to do, and then we'll call and that's going to be done in this function here, and then we can then do whatever we need to do, as we then pass back in to say complete it. And all we need to do is put the quest ID in. And we need to satisfy this argument here, so all I'm going to do is I'm just going to say promote to variable. This is empty, So all I'm going to be doing is just passing in a default empty array. We're not going to do anything. And then if it's successful, we could put something up here to say, hey, successful. Or if you wanted to, that every time you did this, you put an autocomplete. You could put an autosave if you had to save in loading system. If you wanted to just save that, you could do that based on whether this came back true or not. Again, up to you. Alright, so then the next one is the timed quest. So here we have the active time quest. So I'm just going to pull this off and I'm going to say get quest data. So this is a function that is sitting on, so what this is doing is this is bringing back a core quest object in our C++. We have a function called getQuestData that we created. So this is allowing us to actually get access to the data structure on that questing object. And I'm just going to come in here and say break. And so these are all of the things that are being managed. So there they are at the quest level. And what I want to do is I want to go into the current quest stage, and I'm going to be looking, so current quest stage is right here. And I'm actually going to break this as well, since this is a struct. And I want the objectives. So, and I'm going to say, I'm going to do a for each loop on that. And again, I'm just doing this so we can see the time ticking off the seconds when this event fires. So that is the current quest stage. I'm also going to need the current quest stage history. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab this and then say break that as well. And off here, I don't think I need anything else. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go and hide all these other pins just to make this a little bit more easy to read. So, because that's the only thing we need off here is the objectives. So what we're doing is we're going to the current quest stage. We're going to iterate through all of the objectives in the current quest stage to see if to try and find that timed objective so we can figure out, so we can kind of start showing that information. So whenever we update, we're updating into this, which is the current stage history. And so we need to find that objective ID. So here, I'm just going to go grab this and I'm going to again say break. So this is the objective. And off here, I want to get the, let's see, we want the objective ID because we need to feed this into our find. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a find on each objective in here, and because we need to then test that objective to see if that information is something that we need. And then off the objective type, I'm going to run as equal on the enumerator, and I'm going to say active time because this is the one which we're interested in. And if any of these are active time, I'm just going to go branch. And I just hit the B key just to get the branch. And again, so off the find, once we find what we're looking for, let me check to see if there's anything else I need here. We still need the name. Let's just do that for now. So we got find again. I'm just going to break this. Since there's only two things on here with the amount and the outcome, and I only care about the amount on this one. So if true, and then I'm going to say print string, and that string I'm just going to append, and again I'm just going to use 3 pins, space, a colon, and a space. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the amount down here. So this is going to be the amount of seconds that we're progressing. And then on here, I'm going to use just the objective name. So this is just the objective name, and that can go there, and we can use some reroutes just to kind of clean it up a little bit. There's a lot going on. Alright, so that should, if we have a timed quest, this will then display the time ticking. And I'm just going to come back here. We have the history. So all of that information is there for us, and that's just how we're going to, we can get to it. If you wanted to create a little widget or something to kind of show it, you can go ahead and do that. I'm just going to go ahead and just put it in the debug for now. But again, that's all off the active time quest object, and so it's all being managed within that. So yeah, and that's kind of where we're pulling all this information. That's why we're sending the object, the reference to the object here, so we can get that information. All right, so that should do it for our controller. So that's setting up the code so that we can kind of see some things happening in the controller. So let's go ahead and set up the character where we'll be where we can then run a lot of our testing from there. So with our character, the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and set up the event bindings. So again, our component is sitting in the controller, but I want to have some events happen here in the character if this character is tied to that controller. So to do that, we need to create some bindings. We want to bind to some events which are in that quest log. So to do that, all I'm going to do is I'm going to say we're going to get a begin. Let's get a begin play event. And I'm going to put that up here. And then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to say get quest log. So this is the get quest log function that we defined on our character right here. So again, we're just using what we've created. So we just reuse all of that. So just go ahead and minimize that again. I'm just going to do a quick validation on it. I just like to make sure that is valid. It's just one of my pet things that I like to do whenever dealing with pointers within Unreal Engine. I just want to make sure that they're valid. So that's the reference that's coming off. So if that is valid, then we can go ahead and create our bindings. So again, I'm just going to say get quest log. And from here, I'm going to run the bind to event on check. So this is going to be called if we need to check our inventory to see if we actually have the items when we receive a quest. So that's what that's going to do. And I'm also going to create another one, which is the on update quest progression. And there it is. So these are the two that we're going to create bindings to, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this off. I'm going to say I'm going to say create events, and I will let it create event for me. And I'm just going to create a matching event down here, and I'm just going to call this one update objective we'll just call it that. And this one will be the update progression. And there we have it. So we have two matching events. And so these bindings will get created on begin play to our quest log, so our character can now listen into the quest log and see what's going on. All right. So let's go ahead and just go ahead and knock these out real quick. So this is the on update objectives from inventory. So this would be, again, if I get a collection. So I'm just going to say, I'm just going to do some print strings. And I'm just going to say, so we'll just check for objective IDs. Yeah, just a quick little thing there. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to say if we have a specific ID, then we will run the update. So I'm just going to say branch, find our branch. And here I'm going to run a equals equals. And here I'm going to say Apple. I'm just going to run this thing called Apple's objective. But whatever your objective ID that you want to use. That's the objective I'm going to be using for collecting apples, if that's what I'm collecting. If I'm collecting iron, it would be iron underscore objective, or wood underscore objective. It all depends on what you want to call those IDs, as long as they match. And then here, we just have to then call a function, which is the update quest objective. And again, this is just going to be, that's the objective. And I'm just going to go ahead and hard code the amount. But this would be that you'd go into your inventory system, and you'd probably have the objective ID on each item in the inventory system, so that's where you'd iterate through to say, here's the objective ID, see how many you've got, and then once you've got, and then if you've got the number, or whatever number you have, you just put it into the quest objectives and you just update it that way. Pretty simple. But again, we're using this function here. This function will just relay, it's just a wrapper, it's just a facade around the controller version of it. And so we're just going to pass that information. We're trying to just keep everything nice and neat. All right, so off here, off quest progression, so this is where I'd probably go ahead and put it into a progression widget, but we'll get to that probably in the next video. Once we've got all this working, but for now we'll just use the again, we'll just print string it. So here I'm just going to run the break, so we get access to all of this information. So this is the information, this is the structure we created so that we could send messages out of the questing engine and to say this is the kind of stuff that we're putting in here. And this could filter up to the update quest progression on the event, which could then filter into sending it to other different messagings in the UI, depending on what you're trying to do. But this is the data that's coming up. And from here, I'm just going to go again, get a print string for now, and hit append, and I'm just going to make this a 3-pinner, space, colon, space, and then I'm just going to say, I'm going to just put type in there, and then I'm just going to say outcome in there, and that's the only thing that I'm going to print for this. And I'm just going to say hide. This way we'll know which one's getting called. Is it the quest, is it the objective, or is it the quest stage or objective that is being broadcast up. So, and we'll just keep that simple. Alright, so those are these are our events that we're using for now. Just kind of clean this up a little bit more, tighten it up. So we've got two events that are going to be handled within the controller. One is going to be the time, and the other one is going to be the autocomplete. And then the other one is going to be, this is the event for collections, and again this is coming off a binding up here that we're creating back to the quest log. And we're also going to be putting the quest progression, and we're going to bind that here. Alright, so now what I'm going to do, I think what I'm going to do next is I'm going to set up the saving and loading system, so I can kind of show you how to do that, and then after that we'll then turn into quests, and then we'll start setting up some quests, and then we'll just go ahead and start feeding them in and kind of showing how we can then show a quest going in, progressing it, and seeing it through the system. So, but for saving and loading, I'm going to go ahead and set up some debug keys for this. So I'm going to say and I'm going to put saving on debug key 7, and I'll put reloading on debug key 8. Alright, so if you're new to this, what we need to do is we're going to just pull off the pin, and we're going to say, so we're going to create a save game object, and so we need to create this. This is going to spawn a save game object for us, and then I'm going to be spawning that of BP save game, and once it spawns that object, we're going to then I'm gonna again validate it. It's just again my paranoia that objects may or may if an object doesn't get spawned correctly, I just don't want the game to crash. And then from here I'm also going to say promote to variable, because we're going to need to promote that to a variable. And so here I'm just going to go ahead and call this save. So this is the actual instance that we're going to be putting the data into, and I'm just going to go and put a little reroute node to kind of keep things nice and neat. And then off here we need to get the data out of the quest log. So I'm going to say get quest log, and again I'm just going to validate it. And these keys, I'm putting these keys in the character, but you could easily just move this into the controller if that's where you wanted this to be placed. I'm just putting everything in here, just make it a bit easier to find. So again, if this is valid, then we need to say get save. So we have a get save data function. So what this is going to do is it's going to go in and package up all of the data within our quest log at that instance in time and return that as a nice, neat structure. And that structure, and we want to put that into the set save log here, which is in the class. So I'm just going to put a little reroute node to kind of show where that's coming from. So just run that up there, and this is just going to go into there. So no fuss, no mess. What we're doing is we're creating a specific structure already, and then we're just going to pass that a copy of that structure into here so that it can then be saved. And so then in order for us to save it, we're going to need to create a save game slot. So I'm going to go ahead and create a save slot name. Just make this a little bit easier for me, and this is going to be a string, and I'm going to compile it, save it, and I'm going to give it a name. So this would be where you could, if you had different slots or however you're building your save system, right, you could have slot 1, slot 2, slot 3, slot 4, auto slots or exit game slots, depending on how you want to set it up. And then, you just save it into that slot. And then to do that, we're just going to say, where is it? I'm just going to go grab this. I'm going to say get, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to say async. Actually, I'm just going to pull it off here. Async save game to slots. So this is there's two ways to save it. There's the save game to slot, and then there's the async game to save game to slot. Asynchronous is good if you're doing auto saving within the game, because what it'll do is it's going to then save it in the background, so it won't block the game thread. So just like what we're doing when we do our update instances, we want to do that asynchronously so we don't block the game thread. And we're going to run it this way, so again we don't block the game thread. So the only thing here is we just need the save game instance. So we've got the instance here, we've updated the variable here in there, right? And then this is the slot that we're going to be saving it to. And then on complete, because this is a asynchronous, I'm just going to put we need to put this on the, we need to put the check on the complete. And I'm just going to go grab this and grab that. And I'm just going to say print string quest log saved. And that's just going to go there. So that's saving, and then loading is just the reverse. So to do that, we're just going to pull off here, and I'm just going to say async load game from slot. I'm just going to go grab the name of the slot again, and I'm just going to put that up there. And then once we get the save game, we need to cast it to the BP save game instance, and that's there. And then from here, we'll just say get the quest log data. So this is the data that we've saved. And then I'm just going to go ahead and just going to copy that, and we'll just do again another is valid to make sure it's valid. Put that there, and that can go there. And then off here, we have our function, which is the load save data. So this is on the quest log, loading the save data. So we're just going to go grab our save data and put it back. And so this will allow us to rebuild the quest log to the last saved instance of the quest log. So I'll just put that there. And again, this is done asynchronously. So this will asynchronous. So again, we're not going to block anything. Now you may want to actually block this on a load, because that way if you've got things changing, because as soon as we call this function here, we will be literally overwriting everything with the last instance. So you may want to block the game here, pause everything, execute this, and then unpause. But for now, we're just going to run it as async. Oh, and I'm just going to go ahead and move that to complete because this is async. So there and there. All right, so that's saving and loading. So we've got the saving and loading set up. So we'll see that. We'll play with this more and more as we get in, as we start building more and more of the UI components. But it's all there now, set up, ready to be used. Save Gibson. All right, so now that we got that, let's go ahead and we can create some quests in the quest log, and then we'll go ahead and set up the way to kind of feed the quest log. All right, so to do that, let's go ahead and go to content drawer, and I'm going to go ahead and go to new folder and call this quest underscore tables. So this is where I'm going to be keeping my quest table. So what we can do is you can create tables off that table schema now. So we'll kind of come down to miscellaneous, go to data table, and we just need to find our quest log row. So I'm just going to hit that, call quest log row, hit OK, and I'm going to call this quests underscore something boring like quests test 1. So from here, what we can do is we can just open this up. Here's our quest log. We can go to add, and from there, here we can then start creating a quest that we want to create. So this is again the name, description, tracker. All of this data can be set up, and it's pretty, just straightforward. Just follow it. So I already have some quests set up. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come back and I'm going to create a new quest table. So again, this is how we can kind of partition things out if we wanted to partition it out. So I'm going to go to none. I'm going to go call quest row, hit OK. Quest, I'm going to call this I'm going to call this pre-made quests. So if I add this, so one of the nice things about tables is that you can actually, so I'm just going to go hit save real quick, and I'm just going to minimize that one. So one of the nice things is that you can actually right click on here and you can say export to either CSV or JSON, and what this will do is it will export a table into a file format for you. And then what we can also do is then so this is what you can create it in one, and then you could re-import it again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to here, our pre-made quests, and I'm just going to open it up. I'm going to say re-import, and I've already created this table here, and so this is the JSON. As you can see, it can either be CSV or JSON. I exported mine out to JSON, so we can go and take a look at that. But then all you do is just hit open, and there it is. As long as the schemas match, it will import that data. So this could be very useful if you wanted to create a little utility object, maybe in Node.js, right? Where you could create something which is a bit easier to kind of create these. Because as you can see right now, this is pretty much a raw table script. And this UI might not be the best way to actually maybe visualize your quests as you're kind of building them. So you may want to build a utility to do that. So by building that utility, and so let me just go find that file. I'll go find the file and kind of show you what that schema is going to look like. But you could then build maybe a little separate utility outside of Unreal Engine to just specifically build these questing scripts that you could then re-import in. So again, I'm just going to pull this over. So this is the questing test JSON. So this is what it looks like in JSON format. And so, like I said, you could create another application in maybe a React or a Node.js and make that little app so that you can again visualize it a bit better, and then all you do is you could then output all this data. Where it may get a little bit interesting is when you're looking at the text for localization, but again, this is just the JSON format of all the data coming out. It's a pretty standard schema once you've created it. Alright, so I'll just close that and I'll just bring this over back. Alright, so again, so I've got these are the same quests that we were running in the last one. So I'm just going to use these over here now that we brought it into quests. And then so I'm just going to come over to our character, and so what we'll do is we'll just feed some quests in, and then we'll just see if we can then move these quests forward a little bit and play with them. So to do that, I'm just going to go ahead and create some new keys, debug keys, and run these off the debug keys. So debug key 1. And let's go ahead and create our quest as well. So, so what I'm going to do is, so the way that the quest works is everything is a row handle, right? So we just need to create a row handle for our quests. So to do that, I'm just going to come over to variables. I'm just going to hit click. I'm going to call this quest _1. And under string, I'm going to switch this to table row handle. There it is. This is data table row handle, and all we have to do is save it. And then, so here, as you can see, I've got 2 quests. Let's just make sure we save everything, and we just save that. So this, I've got 2 tables, and so this is where you could say you could partition your quests, right? You could have one table for main quests, one table for miscellaneous quests, one table for, you know, faction quests, right? Or one table for side quests, however you want to partition. And you can partition into as many discrete units as you want and we just link it together. So here, this is my pre-made quests, and as soon as I do that, it'll give me access to the rows. If I was to come under test quest 1, it's just got this new row, which is the default ID. So if I want to make some new quests here, I could do that too. I'm just going to move it back to pre-made and go to that. And then I'm just going to go ahead and just duplicate this variable for 3 more times. And then I'm just going to go ahead and just set these, so let's just compile it. And then once it's compiled, quest 2, I'm going to set that to 2. Quest 3, just set this to 3. And quest 4, just set it to 4. Again, row handles, really useful. Alright, so then all we need to do is if we need to add add a quest into our quest log, we just need to go to get quest log. I'm not going to bother with checking to see if it's valid, but all I need to do is I then just need to say add quest. So here's our add new quest. I'm just going to run this off the key, and this will add the quest into the quest log for us. And this one is just going to be quest 1. And then, well, to make things just a little bit easier, I'm just going to go ahead and just load up the quest log with all of the quests. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit that 1 key, and it's just going to put all of our quests in there all at once. So I'm just going to put this up here and up here, make it a little bit easier. Oh, excuse me. All right, say quest 2. So I'm going to get quest 2 and put that to there. Just delete this. Make this one quest 3. And I'm just going to make this one quest 4. All right. So what we're going to do is when we hit this key, we're just going to go ahead and add all 4 quests in there. Some of these are going to be auto start, so they'll just automatically start. Some are going to be, and then some are just going to be put into a wait handle until we actually move things forward. So let's go ahead and just test this all out and see if we can load up that quest log. So to do that, I'm just going to move. Alright, so let's go ahead and hit the play button, hit that 1 key. Oops, looks like we've got a little bit of an issue there with our print string, so let's go ahead and fix that real quick. I'm just going to come over here. I don't think we need duration of 2 seconds. I'm just going to set this to 0. By making duration 0, it's just going to print it up once, and it's just not going to keep printing it out over and over and over again. Actually, this could be set to 2. That's okay. It's really the timer that I want to set. So let's go do that. That's actually in the controller. There it is. So I'm going to set this to 0, and I'm also going to change this to maybe green to kind of distinguish it a bit. Alright, so once that's done, we'll save it, compile everything, make sure everything's good, and let's go ahead and run this real quick. So I'm going to hit the run key, I'm going to hit the 1 key, and there it is. So as you can see, it's loaded up, it's done some progression data, it's showed it for a couple of seconds, and now you can see the time request is going, it's running, and then it stops, and then it auto completes. So all of those events are running within the context. So let's bring this over. So a couple of these we have, we need to kind of move the quest along a little bit, so we can go ahead and do that. Actually, I'm going to change the, I'm going to make quest 1 auto accept, so we should actually see the, see this one fire, which is a check inventory. And I'm going to change the color so we can kind of see this one as well. Let's make this one magenta. And we should see that one now run. So just compile everything, save it. So I just went in here and went into quest 1 and updated my checkbox for auto accept. Hit save, so all that data is saved. Then we're going to run this, and we'll hit 1, and there you go, checked inventory IDs, and then checked inventory IDs a second time. I think I got 2 collections in there. And then there you go, auto complete. So quest 4 auto completes where the other ones don't. All right, so it looks like everything's wired in. So yeah, and it looks like we can start feeding in quests, and it looks like the questing engine is doing its thing. So I think I'm going to call it here for this video. And in the next video, we'll go ahead and create the, I think I'm going to create the progression window, and we'll then go ahead and add some additional steps to actually progress some of these quests a little bit more and kind of see how that's working. And that's what will be in the next video, part 5, and then part 6 we'll probably go ahead and create the actual quest log UI. We'll create the tracker as well as the actual questing log, so we can kind of see, again, build on these, build the components around this cool quest log system, so we can kind of see what's going on, see the pieces moving a bit more in a UI format, and then we'll keep taking it from there. So as always, if you like what I'm doing, feel free to like and share my videos, as well as subscribe to my channel. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. And I will see you in the next video. Cheers, goodbye.